Morning, everyone. This is Dan Spots for the Dalles Area Chamber of Commerce Community Affairs. Welcome our guest this morning, Renzo Meza. Renzo, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Thank you. Outreach Manager with the Oregon Treasury Savings Network. We're going to be going into some detail on that program, but we're going to start with introductions around the table. And I'm going to start with Roger Nichols with that beautiful background.
Thank you. That's taken from right above Rowena Crest there, near Tom McCall Park. And I'm Roger Nichols, and I'm a retired, no, not really retired. I'm still a working journalist after all these years, writing for some both newspapers in the area, radio stations, and also the Rural Light.
Thank you, Roger. Corliss Marsh.
Good morning, everyone. Corliss Marsh. I'm with Habitat for Humanity and the library, the Senior Center, and the College Foundation. I'm a big fan of the Oregon College Savings Plan. So I have a couple for my grandkids.
Thank you, Corliss. And Vesta Smith.
Good morning. I am Vesta Smith, and I am semi-retired. And most of all, the most interesting part is I have 5 great-grandchildren that I have, my husband and I have started college savings plans for. So that's what I wanted to hear about. Thank you.
Excellent. Commissioner Brady.
Good morning, Bill Brady, Wasco County Commissioner. Guess quick update on things in Wasco County. Interestingly, yesterday we discussed at our county commission meeting permit that we're putting into the Gorge Commission to use the 159 acres. That's that area just west of the Dalles. I'm going to call it Northwest, a little more specific, as a RV site for residents of Rowena who've been displaced by the fire. And I like the idea is, keep that community as a community, keep them close to their property. And this is going to require a full scenic area permit process. So we'll learn how all that takes it. And that might take a lot of time. And my thought is if it does, well, we might end up needing a spot like this. Hopefully not, but perhaps for another fire that affects some other houses and people.
Cool idea, Phil. And I see that Kevin Gorman was on the call last week. I know that he and Kelly are in touch, so good to hear. Good to hear. Good luck on that. Keep us posted. Dave Peters.
Good morning, Dave Peters, Columbia Cascade Housing, Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. No big notices other than Mariposa Village is moving forward. That's a project in Hood River. I think it's 130 units, if I remember right. I think it's scheduled to be done roughly about 12 months from now, but I'm not sure on that. Maybe we'll give a presentation at some point.
That would be good. Thank you, Dave. Leslie Naramore.
Good morning, all. I'm Leslie Naramore. I'm the Executive Director of Mid-Columbia Community Action Council, which is the community action agency for Hood River, Wasco, and Sherman counties. And an update from us is we've been working with people who were affected by the Rowena fire, and we're currently up to 16 households that have been rehoused since that fire. And we also currently have a donation of brand new mattresses that are available for families who are moving into new homes. And then we also have essential supplies for them as well. So if you know of anyone out there who hasn't contacted us yet, who has been affected by the Rowena fire, please do send them our way. Thank you.
Leslie, for the record, also, would you put your contact in? I know you have in the past, but go ahead and the same for everyone here. If you'd like to put your contact information in the chat box, please do. And we have Sergio Garcia joining us. And Sergio, I see the note from you running a little bit late, so let's see if we can do an intro here as you're able to join. Anyway, Renzo, I just made you co-host. Take it away, sir. I'm introducing again Renzo Meza, Outreach Manager with the Oregon Treasury Savings Network.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning, everyone. Let me share my screen here. So Let me go full screen. Oops. Oh, okay. New format. Well, yeah, thank you so much for having me this morning. Renzo Meza from the Oregon State Treasury. I'll just be walking you through, yeah, this morning, a little different than past years. I'll be talking mostly about Oregon Saves, but as I mentioned, I'll talk a little bit about our Oregon College Savings Plan and just kind of some of the unique features, added benefits, enhancements we've made to the program that I just want to call out. And also our Oregon Able Savings Plan, which are all really fantastic plans. And Able in particular is kind of one of those less known plans, but tremendously impactful. So to just start off with Oregon Saves, you've probably heard this before or know it, but it is a statewide retirement savings program. And the key reason this program was created was really to just increase access to retirement savings and really make sure that workers around the state are being offered something by their employer or at their workplace. That's sort of the critical aspect of it. And I'll give a very clear reason why later, but at a high level, it's just increasing access in the workplace. What the program does is it gives Oregonians access to a Roth IRA. For those maybe unfamiliar, it's really just a long-term savings account that's meant to be withdrawn after the age of 59 and a half, which is sort of that, IRS technical retirement age. You can contribute up to $7,000 per year in this account. If you're over the age of 50, you get to contribute an extra $1,000. And then, unlike a tax deferred plan like a 401k, the growth and withdrawals with a Roth IRA are completely tax-free as long as the account's been open for more than 5 years and you're over the age of 59 and a half. So, in other words, to give an example, let's say you've been saving for 40 years, you're 65 years old, you've got $250,000 in your Roth IRA, and, it's time to use it and you start making withdrawals. You don't have to worry about sort of the tax implications of those withdrawals. They were made with after-tax contribution, so it's yours to spend free and clear. And a cool feature too about the Oregon Saves Roth IRA is that it's portable. So if you stop working at a place that offers Oregon Saves, you can still contribute out of your own, personal savings accounts. Or if your next employer offers Oregon Saves, you pick up right where you left off. So when Oregon Saves was created, there was also a law that was passed that basically said, and it was the goal was to make this sort of effective, and that's that every employer needs to offer a retirement savings option to their workers. If they don't offer a 401k or a 403b, something like that, a simple IRA, they need to be administering Oregon Saves. There are annual deadlines every year for new businesses that come into play. It is a requirement for employers. Employees, workers get to decide if they want to participate. The sort of update that I'll provide is enforcement is launching this year, actually has already launched. Due to the pandemic, we sort of took a break and then there were transitions in different roles. So it was kind of slow to happen, but that enforcement mechanism has always been in play, but it's being rolled out now. We started it this year. So I think that's just the update. I know it's been a little slow, but for employers that maybe have just sort of disregarded it or are kind of unsteady with administering the payroll contributions, enforcement is set to ramp up. So there are penalties for non-compliance and not administering or not enrolling employees. So I just kind of wanted to call that out, and I'm happy to connect once the larger wave, which is starting later this year, ramps up a little bit. Our focus from an outreach perspective has been to shift a little bit more from the program overview to more of the actual administration of the payroll contributions and the adding employee information, things like that, that maybe are a little bit, maybe slightly more technical for some folks. But anyway, we'll have some resources. I can connect with you when that ramps up later in the year in a couple couple months, just with any updated resources, but just wanted to flag that, to be upfront. It's, again, in statute that it needs to be enforced. It's enforced through BOLI, but, we try to be the friendly support to get people through the finish line there. So,
Renzo, it's always good to have that approach, that friendly approach on the
yes. Yeah, the goal is to not catch people off guard. We've been sending plenty of notices, but also understand that things happen. People move from business. You need to kind of lose key staff, or you downsize, then grow a little bit. Sometimes you just miss the mailing, something like that. So yeah, it's we're trying to remind folks before it moves into that stage where it's sort of out of our hands and BOLI's kind of working with you.
And that's what I was wondering about the communications channel. Is it a physical mail? Should people be watching their email? How do businesses watch for this?
It's a physical mailing for sure. That's sort of that, and that comes from the program that say, hey, this is kind of final warning before your referral over there. So it starts with a hard copy mailing, followed up with an email, and then at that point it sort of moves into BOLI, which they operate in more of a hard copy mailing. So at that point, I'd be a little surprised if folks are missing the mailing, but I think we've also been there, right? Like sometimes you're just busy and you miss it, something like that. But yeah, those are going to be hard copy mailings.
Great to know. Thank you.
So there are a few, some businesses can certify an exemption, as I mentioned, if there's a qualified retirement plan. So I've just listed them here, but they're the common players: 401k, 403b, a government plan. So if a business has one of those, they do still need to go in and certify an exemption, and basically let us know, hey, I offer one of these. We have line of sight on them sometimes, but if it's a newer business, not so much. So if you offer that, we recommend we strongly suggest going online and entering that business information and what it offers. This way, we're not following up with you and asking about your situation. If you do it proactively, we kind of put you on the compliant list. So an important step there. So I mentioned kind of the importance of being able to contribute in the workplace, and sort of the why behind all of this. There is a national retirement savings crisis. 1 in 5 Americans over the age of 50 have nothing saved at all. A larger proportion don't necessarily feel like they're on track to retire the way they would like to, and then there are concerns over Social Security. So really, it's just meant to sort of bolster long-term financial security. When we designed the program, one of the kind of most salient points was that workers are 15 times more likely to save for retirement if the option is available through the employer. I think a lot of us understand, or a lot of us have said, yeah, I'll do that on my own time. I'll figure it out, but the information gets a little complicated, convoluted, murky, and there's sort of this paralysis by analysis and nothing gets done. So if it's just automatic and convenient, it sticks. And then I think the final point here, it's an update, but I think it should also be kind of a point of pride. Oregon was the first state to launch a statewide retirement savings program, and there are now 20 states that have a statewide savings program. The program has been effective. I'll be talking through the total savings, but hundreds of thousands, or over 100,000 savers, over 400 million in savings collectively. So it's helping people, and it's catching on, and other states have seen the efficacy and kind of essentially gone off or replicated our model. So big thing here, when we designed it, obviously some important things to keep in mind. One of the reasons employers didn't launch retirement savings programs was the cost, especially if you're a small business starting out. So there are no fees to employers for administering Oregon saves, no fees at all. And fiduciary responsibility is not placed on employers. We handle all of that, and we have made various iterations to kind of make it simpler for employers to facilitate. The big one, which I can't remember if I mentioned at our last meeting, but has been a goal ever since, is what we call payroll integration. So when this first started, an employer would sort of need to come into our portal, manage the payroll contributions through our portal. But over time, and we knew that businesses are using QuickBooks, Gusto, Paychecks, and things like that to run their payroll. For a lot of those businesses, they can just, or those payroll systems, they can just do it all in there. They don't have to come into the Oregon Sage platform at all anymore. They're just integrated. So you create a deduction line in QuickBooks, it sends it to us, and you're good to go. So you're using sort of your native platform, and it's meant to, kind of keep it seamless. But that's been like our primary focus, is just making it easier. Employer responsibilities, really, as I mentioned, is just sign up by your deadline, set up your account, which includes payroll and employee info. And then the big one is, and the one sort of that is the one that's sort of monitored in terms of compliance, is making sure that employees that are said they want to participate are making those contributions via the employer. That's sort of the number one aspect there. Employers can't make a match, again, to keep it simple, and employers are not responsible for answering questions about how do I invest, how much I need to make a withdrawal. That all runs through us. They can call us, we can assist with that. If they're looking for kind of strategic investment support, we cannot help with that either. We're really suggesting they consult a financial advisor or someone that can support them through that, someone more qualified. Eligibility, full-time, part-time, and seasonal employees are eligible if they're over the age of 18, having a social security and ITIN, and work in Oregon. For the seasonality, if a worker or if an employee works for you for more than 60 days in a calendar year, they are eligible. If it's less than 60, they don't have to be included there. I'm sticking with the high-level overview, so I can skip that one. But again, let's say you register your business, your employees are enrolled in the program. It's an opt-out program. So if an employee does not want to participate, they need to go in and say, I don't want to, I want out, and they'll be opted out. But if they do nothing or decide to go in and sort of customize their contribution rate and all that, that's totally fine. But if they just choose to do nothing, they'll be enrolled. And the standard enrollment flow is every time they're paid, 5% of their gross goes into their Oregon Sage account after tax. Every year, the contribution rate increases by 1% until they get to 10%. And of course, so they get the most bang for their buck, the money's invested. For the first 30 days, it's in a capital preservation fund. Then after those 30 days, it rolls over into the target retirement date fund, and all the future contributions are in there as well, where it spends the most of their lifetime. So that's the standard enrollment. That's where most people live, but folks can customize this at any point. They can change the contribution rate. They can suspend auto escalation. They can jump right into another investment option, designate beneficiaries, which is huge. And if they move or information, last name changes, they can manage all of that. And then it's super easy to opt out. They can do it online, call us, submit paperwork, but you can opt out super easily and opt back in super easily if the time isn't currently right, but you want to save for it later. And then, I think, I mentioned this last time, I'm sure most of you understand it, but really the point of this is like, regardless of how much you can save, the sooner you can start saving, regardless of the amount, the better. You're just benefiting from compound interest. And the kind of great thing, again, about a Roth IRA is that if you meet that threshold of over 5 years and over the age of 59 and a half, it's all tax-free. So to use kind of a high number, well, I say 200 sort of sounds high, but the average contribution last year was actually $204. So actually pretty nice, a nice contribution every month. But let's say you save $250 for 40 years right out of the gate, you're 20 years old. You could have just shy of $400,000. You've actually contributed $120,000. So you've tripled your money, assuming the kind of historical market returns, but all that money would be tax-free when you go to withdraw it if you've met the qualifications, which you most likely have after 40 years. So yeah, that is the overview. I'm going to slide ahead. I am going to skip the enrollment because, as I mentioned, this part's a little bit more technical, but I'm gonna, sorry, and hopefully this isn't too fast, but I do just want to slide to the payroll integrations slide, which I think is kind of the main focus of kind of how we're trying to make it more seamless. So these are all the payroll providers that we work with. As you can see, some of the bigger names, the Gusto, the QuickBooks, the Paylocities, that again, if you're using one of them, you don't have to really interact with our payroll. You would sort of sign in one time, sync the two platforms up, between accounts, and then you do it all in your platform. And then it remits all the information to us. And yeah, and it, again, we've gotten great feedback on this, pretty simple. So the help center is always there, with resources that have step-by-step guides with visuals, videos, more information about the payroll integrations, adding security, all the above. And then sort of final slide, as I mentioned, we've got over, I think we just crossed 140,000 savers we definitely just crossed the 400 million in assets mark. So again, that savers just putting money away for the long haul, getting great feedback, and still serving as a model for other states. So that's it on the Oregon Saves front. I'll pause there just before transitioning to the other programs, but any questions on the Oregon Saves enforcement or just enrollment, anything like that before we move on? Oh yeah, Phil.
Got a couple of questions.
Sure.
One, does this also apply to nonprofits and government entities? And two, Roths are usually after tax. Does that apply to this situation as well?
Absolutely. Yep. Roth, the contributions that go into the Oregon Saves Roth IRA are after tax. Yep. And then, yeah, this does apply to nonprofits, government agencies, but they can be exempt if they're offering a qualified plan. But yeah, essentially all business types in the state are covered by the legislation, by the mandate.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I've been watching the box. Any other
Yeah.
questions at this point?
Great. Let me just take a peek at looks like nothing in the chat. Okay, great. So yeah, now I'll shift to Oregon College Savings Plan. So I think Vesta mentioned it, but a few folks on the call have this account. Yeah, it's one of the three primary savings programs that Treasury offers. Yeah, I think just a little bit of information, it's also kind of more of a long-term savings account that's meant to, save for post-secondary education. I think some of the evolution of it is that, it's not necessarily only for a 4-year university. It's also can be applied at at trade schools, certificate programs, apprenticeships, community colleges. I think especially today, it's important not to overlook those. I know more people are moving into the trade, so it can be used for all of that. It's also not just for tuition, and it's also can be used for room and board. It can also be used for materials, computers. If you're going into a trades program and you're required to have steel-toed boots or a construction hat, or if it's an art or a culinary program and you need knives, it can be used for all of that. Anything that is related to the education you're receiving.
Renzo, we have
ahead.
one question here from Roger. The live captions and subtitles box in your slide deck, are you able to remove that?
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, that's
Yes.
okay. It's just covered. There we go.
Okay, sorry about that.
No,
Yeah,
good question.
I know it's interesting. I have two monitors and they both look totally different, so I don't know what you can see. But yeah, so college savings plan. Oh, so another kind of again, high level features of college savings plan is they do come with a refundable tax credit, refundable being kind of the key. So if you owe, you can have that money reduced. If you don't owe, you get more back. But it's up to $180 for a single filer, up to $360 for married filers, or for joint filers, I should say. And yeah, it's means tested, but those are the max values. Oregon, again, also pretty unique in that it's refundable. A lot of other states, they're not. What else? I think also cool features that are not to be, or that I think can really help with saving. Are you all familiar with bottle drop? Do you?
I am not. What is that?
Okay, well, it's an awesome program. I love talking about it. So around the state, it's not everywhere, but there are bottle drop stations. So basically, for every there are locations around the state where if you deposit a used can or a used bottle, you get 10 cents per that bottle. And initially, when this program was created, you just got all the money back in cash. But we struck a partnership with them a few years ago where you can actually, instead of receiving it in cash, you can actually have it directly deposited into your college savings plan. So they
I do know
accept
what that is, Oregon.
bags. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
of
accept
course.
bags. So I think, if you fill one bag they sell at the store, you probably have maybe like $10 in there, every time you make a deposit. So yeah, it's a really nice way to kind of make additional contributions to your account, your children's account. I heard great grandchildren's account. So it just gives it another boost. It's fantastic. I love it. I use it for both of my kids. If you
Renzo,
have a birthday party and you've got, beers for everyone, you say, hey, make sure it goes in this bag and it's going towards my child's savings account. So it's fantastic.
So
Dan,
Renzo, I do have a question on that
Yeah.
one. I'm not familiar with that, of course, Oregon recycling. But we have a big one in the Dalles is Fred Meyer.
Yep.
So it's an automated. Those are machines, and you drop them into the machine.
Oh, okay.
So is there a way to work with Fred Meyer, or is there or how would that work? I guess with the machine?
Yeah, no, and it's actually, yeah. So that's a good flag. Not all the sites, and actually, I believe a law was just passed that impacted this some more, but not all. So if you go to a proper bottle drop location, you can sometimes drop off bags. Some places don't do that. I think it's in part
No.
for sort of
Ours
security.
does. Ours does. Ours is
Oh.
an official bottle drop, and
great.
it's not counted there. I mean, it's shipped to bottle drop to be
Right.
counted.
Okay.
Fred Meyer's is just a drop-off place. So you can
Great.
drop it off, and you just look up your bottle drop account and it shows up the count and how much, and you can, like you say, opt to deposit it into the savings plan. I use it to boost my groceries.
Yep.
Yeah, you get 20% more to buy groceries.
And then we're all jumping in here. And am I right, Renzo, that we don't make that selection at the bottle drop site. We make that selection online through our bottle drop account.
That's exactly
Correct.
right. So yeah, as Corliss mentioned, you drop it off, it gets counted, you get the total amount that deposited, it gets reflected in your account, and then you hit, move this to this account, to the college savings account. Yeah. So yeah, a nice way to boost it. Those are kind of what we're looking for. Another change that we've simplified is before, you open a college savings account, and gifting community is a big part of this, where it's your kid's birthday, you want to send an email or something to family and say, hey, like, I don't need any more toys for my grandkids. Help me save for college. So before, you needed to sort of set up a gifting page, and you kind of customized it. But the feedback we got was like, people prefer to start with a default and customize if they wanted to, rather than needing to sort of build this page. So we've changed it a little bit. So whenever you open an account, there's a default page and there's a standard link that you can copy and paste and send out. And it was just meant to sort of make things a little simpler. And yeah, it's just kind of already ready to go. You just send the link to people you want to, ask for a contribution. So that is an update there. And yeah, that's those are the high high level features. I want to make sure I'm not missing anything, but yeah, those great program. The tax benefit, easy to use. Also, the only other feature I'll mention is that last year, before you could you would send the money to, you could like mail it to an institution or yourself to pay for school. You can now directly pay the institution's bill, like your kid's college tuition bill, directly from your account via Flywire. So it's an important, program. So many people going post-secondary options. So we're constantly trying to involve it and make it better, and it's in a good place. But just wanted to make sure those features weren't they can be easy to miss. So yeah, Phil.
Vesta might be able to answer this. If you have multiple grandkids, can you divide out that way? And how much information, personal identification information, do you need to have on these kids in order to set up their accounts?
Yeah, so
You
you'll
have to at
need,
least have their social security number.
that's right. You'll need their social security number or ITIN, you'll need their name, and you'll need their address, kind of the standard date of birth, all that. So there are a few ways you can do it. So if you have multiple grandkids, you can set up an account with each of like their own account where they're each a beneficiary. Or I think that's the more common approach. Another approach is you can just have maybe the oldest and they're the beneficiary, and sort of have kind of just fill that one up and essentially plan to use part of it for the older child and then roll over and then change the beneficiary later. Like, let's say if they're 5 years apart, you can essentially roll it over to the younger one. But I think it's more common to have one for each. This way you can contribute equal amounts to each. They both kind of know there's an account for them. And I think psychologically there's a benefit to knowing, hey, there's an account in my name. Data shows when a kid knows that their parents or family is saving for them, they're more likely to go to college. They're just invested because they know family is investing in them. So yes, can have multiple accounts, and the information you need is kind of that standard social security name info.
Excellent program. Other questions on the college savings plan?
Great. So I will just briefly talk on Oregon Able Savings Plan. So this one is the one that when I came to Treasury, I did not know much about, but tremendously impactful, and hopefully I can sort of communicate why. Have folks on here heard of Able Savings Plan? Okay.
No.
So yeah, this one's a bit, it's surprising. I like when I'm describing Oregon Able Savings Plan, I like to sort of start off by explaining the problem and why Able was created. So for years, and still to this day, if you have a disability, intellectual, physical, any disability, and look to the federal government or state for financial assistance benefits, you cannot have more than $2,000 saved in your name. Otherwise, you do not qualify for state and federal benefits. So it is extremely outdated. It perpetuates poverty, because as you might imagine, with only less than $2,000, you probably can't get an apartment. You clearly can't save for school, can't save for a house. 2,000 is very minimal. This amount has been in place for years, has not risen with inflation. So it puts people with disabilities in a very tight spot. People that would get benefits or birthday contributions would have to like immediately spend that money. Otherwise, they would be risking losing their benefits, which they depend on. So in 2016, a law was passed called the Able Savings Plan, and so it, launched the creation or the proliferation of Able Savings Plan. Able Savings Plan is a dedicated savings account for people with disabilities, where the money saved in there does not impact their benefits whatsoever. It's sort of a protected shelter or a safe haven for their savings. They can save up to $100,000 before their benefits are impacted at all. So this includes Social Security or social supplemental income, Medicare, Medicaid, I should say. So none of that is impacted until they cross 100,000. So obviously a massive $98,000 gap. That money can be used for, by definition, anything that improves their quality of life, health, and I'm forgetting one, but it's so broad. So they can use it for, to pay for college, to purchase a car, to do workforce training for a job, to go to Disneyland. It's great, and it's been super impactful. A couple other features about this account is obviously maybe the person with the disability can manage their own account, but if they don't want to or they cannot, they can tap what's called an authorized legal representative to help them manage the account with them. So I mean, I think that's at the high level. The only other thing I'll mention about an ABLE plan is that there's also the option to get a prepaid card. So if you're the person with a disability is fairly independent, but needs some support, they can still get a prepaid card that basically works like a gift card that they can use to, go to Starbucks, get themselves a treat, go shopping, all of that, and kind of maintain their independence. So yeah, it's huge. Again, it was a big problem that people with disabilities couldn't save for the long term, and this allows them to do that with no restrictions and without compromising benefits that they rely on. So it's a fantastic program. So if you know someone with a disability, and it's worth kind of exploring as a good option for them.
Renzo, a question on really all the programs that we've been describing this morning. Do you have links that you could place in the chat box? I want to ask before we forget, and then Phil has a question also.
So with the ABLE program, are family members and friends able to contribute to a handicapped person's account?
Absolutely. Yep. And yeah, ABLE also has that gifting page. ABLE, you can also contribute with Bottle Drop, you can contribute to a college savings plan and an ABLE savings plan. So a lot of the same baked in features, but yes, the community aspect of them are big. So yeah.
I was not familiar with that program at all. It's good to bring that forward. Thank you.
So how is the structure? How's the program structured if it isn't contributing to their income or savings? I guess.
Yeah. So I believe. Well. So I'm just forgetting the frequency of it, but I believe some information needs to be presented to the Social Security Administration on a certain cadence to say, hey, how much are you saving in these types of bank accounts? So I think they just look at the balance there. So however, if you show them, hey, I have $50,000 in an ABLE savings account, they just have to sort of disregard that. Like that is an agreed upon safe haven where the impacts would not be benefited. To your point though, I do want to clarify one bit of information is that the ABLE savings, there is an asset limit to receive federal and state benefits, and there's an income limit. So ABLE shelters the assets. So you can have a lot of money saved before your benefits are impacted. The income is sort of separate. So if a person with a disability works at a high paying job, ABLE wouldn't work for them. Their income would cross that threshold. But if they don't work and are just saving, you can actually put your Social Security benefits into an ABLE account. So a common example before was, someone would receive benefits and they didn't necessarily need to use it all that month, but they couldn't save it because it threatened their benefits. So now they can, if there's any excess, they can put it in the ABLE savings plan and allow it to grow and earn interest, just like any other savings plan. So yeah, if I understand your question, like it is understood, it's in law.
Right, but I imagine that it's to some term because it's not liquid, right? So they can't access it.
Nope, there's a very liquid option. There's a FDIC insured savings option, but there's also, similar to Oregon Saves, there's a like a long-term, it actually has multiple, yeah, it has like an aggressive sort of S&P 500 option in there as well. There, I believe all in all, there are 4 savings options, but there's definitely a liquid one. Yeah, I would say about 50% of savers are in that liquid because they're using it for their day-to-day expenses.
Okay.
So,
Sergio, Phil, go ahead.
if person, how does one have to be qualified as handicapped? And could one start this saving plan anticipating that someday we'll have some disability just because of old age?
Great question. And yeah, that's a point that I think I skipped there. So yeah, in essence, the account holder needs to have a disability. The program Oregon Able Savings Plan does not, it is sort of based on the honor system, it's self-attestation. So Oregon Able does not ask you to submit paperwork verifying your disability. You don't have to come anywhere. If you have a disability, you can open an Able Savings account. I will say, if the IRS were ever to audit you, you would need some sort of record available to you confirming that you have a disability. So in most cases, this is it's not called a doctor's note, but there's a document that a doctor could provide that can says, yeah, this person has a disability. That's all you would need. And it would need to be dated and so on. But the one bit, in order to be eligible for an ABLE account, your disability needed to have started before the age of 26. And Phil, to your point though, one thing that's important, actually on January 1st of 2026, the age of onset actually increases to 46. So we expect that next year, a very large portion of the population is also now going to be eligible for ABLE, as it's increased by 20 years. So to your question, Phil, I don't necessarily, I mean, you could anticipate it if you're 36 now and have a disability that next year you'll be eligible, but not like necessarily future years out. You need to be diagnosed with a disability that a doctor can attest to as well. They don't need to, but you'll need that record. Great question. And yeah, sorry about that eligibility flag.
Yep, I'm still skiing, so I might have a disability here soon, but well, I'm not planning on it.
Got it. Okay. So yeah, a lot of very disparate programs, but all very impactful. Yeah, I appreciate the time to sort of talk about ABLE and College Savings Plan. I know in the past I've kind of wanted to keep this focused on Oregon Saves. I know it's maybe the bread and butter for this population, but you know, in having conversations with our team, you know, it's like, hey, we're all people, and right, like the business owners have families too. And so one day I started just kind of mentioning Oregon College Savings a little bit, and was getting a lot of questions and interest and feedback. So and you know, I should also mention too, again, from the employer standpoint, is there's actually nothing preventing an employer that wants to from making payroll contributions to an ABLE account or a college savings account if they want to. Kind of an added step per se, maybe in the payroll process, but they can totally do it.
Good to know. Thank you, Renzo.
Yeah.
We did
and
have
I put the links in the chat. So.
Thank you for doing so. That becomes part of the recording here, so it's a good record, and I want to be certain that we'll send that along. Columbia Gorge Community College often participates in these calls, and
Great.
That's our community college here in the region. So good to know. We had a couple of folks join us a little bit later, so I'd like to give them the opportunity to introduce themselves and also any updates. Sergio? Sergio, I don't know if you're there. If not, Jacob Anderson.
Good morning. This is Jacob Anderson. I'm sorry I haven't been on video. I am up here at an economic development conference in Olympia. So making lots of good connections all over the Northwest.
Thank you for joining us, Jacob. And Sergio, Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation, I believe, is the
He works with me.
yeah. Thank you, Dave. Other questions for Renzo?
I'm here now. Sorry about that. I've been having some computer issues.
Oh, sorry
the
about
last
that.
2
Go
weeks.
ahead.
Yeah, hi, I'm Sergio Garcia, the new director of real estate development with Columbia Cascade Housing Corporation and Mid-Columbia Housing Authority. I'm just here to listen in. Renzo, I appreciate the information and for fielding all of the questions.
Of course.
Very good. Well, folks, if we don't have any other questions, any other updates, I did put some a couple of updates in the chat from the Chamber of Commerce. We have the Citizens Award Banquet, A Night to Remember, is coming up September 11th. Ticket deadline is the 29th of this month, and you'll see a link on there, or give the Chamber a call. And then tonight, business after hours from 5 to 7 at the Dallas Country Club. Couple of announcements there from the Chamber. And if there's any other general information, things that people should know about on this call, now would be a good time to put it out. Roger.
Yeah, just want to mention that having been temporarily reappointed to the Gorge Commission, a very important meeting coming up in September, and we will be considering proposals from both, I think, Wasco and Klickitat counties having to do with adjusting the situations for those people who have been affected by the fire, and we'll be working very hard to get that in.
That is critical information. I didn't know about your temporary appointment. Roger, you served on the commission before.
I spent 12 years there, and then the person who replaced me suddenly had to resign, and so I've said, well, I'll serve this last couple of months. And one of the things that we did is take a tour of 9 of the 13 members of the commission of the whole Rowena and Tule Terrace fire, and it was pretty impressive, and I think that will help in doing a vote in the commission itself.
Okay, what, again, the time and date of that meeting coming up?
That will be 9:30. I believe it's on the 9th of September. It'll be the first Tuesday in September.
Okay, okay. There is
the county commission has started a process to find a new gorge commissioner. We've had 4 very good applicants, and we're going to be selecting from one of those in the next month.
Okay, good to know. That's the type of information that's good for the group to have here, Roger and Phil. Other updates, organizational updates that people should be aware of.
Yeah, this is Jake. The City of the Dalles City Council and the Planning Commission are having a joint session this evening at 5:30 on an update to the employment opportunities analysis. And so everyone's welcome. It's in the council chambers.
Jacob, tell us about the EOA. What does that do?
So the EOA is one of the bases of our information, looking at where our employment lands are and where we're looking to grow. It is also one of the bases for any potential expansion of the urban growth boundaries.
And I believe there's a link to that meeting. Do you happen to have that offhand?
I don't have it on my phone right here.
I think I might have it. I'll drop it into the chat box if I can find it.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, that's right. You're remote. In Seattle at the conference. Good work on that one.
Yeah, it's a great conference.
Yep. All right. Right, everyone. I will give you back some time in your day, unless there's anything else.
Thank you all for your time.
All right, Renzo, thank you very much for joining us. Excellent information. It's good to have these, and I think we all learned a lot on this. So thank you for taking the time with us this morning. And please keep in touch. Let's make this a regular event.
We'll do. We'll
bring
do.
new people in.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Everyone, I thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your week.